Okay, Kimberly, welcome to Pretty Smart.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thank you.
I already feel so connected to you.
Same. I did even through the screen, so I'm happy to meet you in person.
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about a heart-led life and big feelings. So overwhelm, anxiety, energy, fear. You say that there's actually a powerful solution to all of this that's actually overlooked.
First of all, I just want to say I've been working in wellness for over a decade. And there's many parts of this puzzle. I think I started very physically with food and yoga asanas and then got more into meditation. When I came across this research around heart coherence, which is the basis of my new book, The Hidden Power of the Five Hearts, I have to tell you, Danielle, I thought I had energy before. Been doing this lifestyle for so long. Yeah. I would say that my energy has gone up over 70%. I would say that my relationship with my husband, who I love so much, but all the little bickering, all the daily communication, the frictions, it's gotten 90% better. And this is such a powerful message for all of us to realize is that whilst we can eat well and we can go to the gym and do the weight-bearing exercise and get the biohacking devices, this unseen energy inside of us, the emotional states, up and down, the upheavals, the little moments, for instance, 2 minutes of irritation puts into motion over 1,500 different biochemical processes that ultimately drain our energy. It's all these little moments through the day, we're in traffic, the tantrums with the kids. This ages us. This derails our gut health. This derails our hormonal balance. This derails our peace. We're overthinking. So this work around the heart, which is energetic, spiritual, and scientific, all these practices are evidence-based, has made such a big difference in my life and in the lives of my clients. I'm starting to bring it into their lives as well.
You talk about something called heart intelligence in your book.
Yes.
What is that?
So sometimes we hear about the heart kind of like sentimental, romantic way. Like I followed my heart and I fell for this, bad dude or whatever whatever journey we go through. But heart intelligence refers to the place in our heart that is actually another brain. And a lot of people didn't realize this. I didn't realize this actually until a couple of years ago. I started doing research for my last book. Turns out that there's 40,000 neurons in our heart. And it sends more messages to the brain than vice versa. So why this matters...
Wait, hold on. You have to say that again slower.
Okay, 40,000 neurons in the heart. So if you are a parent or your friend has had a child, when you go into the ultrasound, first thing that comes is the heartbeat.
Right.
Before the brain is formed. So there's a different type of intelligence that even precedes the brain, right? And for millennia, let's go back in time, the ancients, talking the ancient Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, all world religions have always talked about the heart as more than a physical organ, this gateway, this power center. So what we're finding today with modern science is that the heart really is a power center. It's the main biological oscillator of your body, which means it sets the rhythms. It changes your perceptions. So when you go into your heart and you start to awaken the power, which is the first part of the book title, The Hidden Power, you start to increase what's called coherence, which is heart, brain, nervous system communication.
Heart, brain, nervous system.
Why does this matter? It means more clarity, more energy. You slow aging, you increase your vitality. There's a heart field that we're projecting all the time, which we'll talk about. People register your energy. You can repel love away without knowing it. You can attract things in. Once you understand the energy that's measurable by magnetometers, which measure magnetic fields, once you understand how to really work with your heart's power and intelligence.
Is our heart talking to us?
So our heart is talking to us through the language of intuition. But true intuition, true heart coherence is like you swim from one shore to the next and the sun is on your back and you feel really great. Incoherence means scientifically that the heart and the brain aren't talking. So what this feels like in the swim, let's say, is you run into a rock, you get annoyed, you swim the wrong direction, you come back, there's fog in your goggles, you reach the other shore irritated, right? So when we're in incoherence, which most of us, which we'll talk about the heart stages in a moment, most of us are feeling a lot of confusion, we're overthinking, it's like we're going around in circles, we're wasting energy, we don't even realize it.
Right.
So it's hard to know when this heart intelligence is speaking to you unless you start to create more of that coherence, what we often think is the heart, these big emotions, the jealousy or the anger, the irritation, the fear, It's actually of the ego, it's of the mind. What I call in the book is the unbridled horse. So when we start to link the heart and the brain, we start to create this deeper harmony. Then we really hear these intuitive messages. Then we also start to turn on the third brain, which is the gut.
And we have a brain in our gut, like you said in your book, right?
Yes.
So one, two, three.
That's right.
It's 5 heart stages, and they're based on, is it Vedic wisdom? Is that how you, Vedic?
Yeah,
Vedic?
yes, exactly. So I always wait, Danielle, until there's this spanda, this real inspiration. Like, what do I really want to share? So as I mentioned to you, I was researching my last book, which came out in 2022.
Okay.
And I came across this insane, to me, like mind-blowing research around the heart. So I started to take this deep dive into the science. And at the same time, I started to go back into the Vedic texts because I love to combine the ancient teachings with the science. And in the Vedic texts, and Swami Sri Yukteswar, who is the guru to Paramahansa Yogananda, who brought yoga to the West, talks about this in his book, The Holy Science. And he says there are 5 stages that we all go through to awaken the human heart. And guess what? As I was reading the science and learning about these ancient teachings, it turns out that they line up. So for instance, the first heart stage, which is the dark heart, where heart and brain aren't talking scientifically. What that feels like in our life is confusion, low energy, overwhelm, lots of irritation, frustration, fear. It goes all the way that the science matches the heart stages.
I don't want to interrupt you, but something is clicking for me.
Yeah.
I always would joke that I was so exhausted all the time when I was younger, in my early 20s. And I really was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was like a sleepy girl.
Yes.
And people complain of having less energy as they get older. I have become more aligned and my energy has increased.
Exactly. People say all these things, these beliefs, as we age, like this happens and this happens. It doesn't have to be that way, first of all, because there's this torus field, this energy that comes from the heart that's literally renewing. And when we're not coming from such a heady, overthinking place, when we start to turn on that heart's wisdom, we start to flow through life in a very different way. And with the heart stages, the hidden power of the 5 hearts are 5 different realities. They're 5 different stages that so we could be sitting here in the same situation, and the more awake our hearts are, we're having a very different experience.
Yeah.
Right? It's the experience, the internal experience. So as I mentioned, the dark heart is not evil, but dark like you can't see. Heart and brain aren't talking. So much confusion, so much fear.
Okay.
When I look back on periods when I was in the dark heart, even externally, I chose partners, really nice guys who were really safe because there's so much fear of abandonment from my childhood, right? So it was like, I don't really completely love you, but you love me. And this is good enough because you won't leave me. And then we start to build energy. And I'll talk about that in the book through the teachings and the practices. So more energy starts to come. Then we enter the second heart stage, which is propelled. So the propelled heart is searching for meaning and validation, but externally. So this is where we start to really care about what we look like on social media. This is where we have some rigid life plan. I'm supposed to be married and have 2 kids by the time I'm 33. I'm supposed to make this much money. How do I look? We become almost obsessed with different diet plans and biohacking and self-help tools. None of this is wrong, but so much of how we define our worth is externally focused.
Yeah.
So this leads to stress, burnout, anxiety, insomnia, always on, never feeling content, right? And I can say I spent a lot of my life in the propelled heart, overachiever, perfectionist, eating disorders in high school. So then I look at the relationships when I was in that heart stage, and it was often, this person looks good, and we go to the same events, and we fit into the plan, but disconnection. So then the third heart stage is known as the steady heart, and this is where we start to be this anchor to ourselves through ups and downs. Like you were saying, we stop depleting so much energy because we're not needing so much from the outside world to validate us, to see us. Like the hustle, we start to be more anchored, and coherence from a scientific standpoint starts to increase. So we start to have more vitality and more energy. Then stage 4 is the devoted heart. And this is where our intuition really turns on. It's a high state of heart awakening and coherence. So we feel more clear, and we start to awaken more of unconditional love, peace, compassion. And because we're in so much coherence, we have so much emotional intelligence. So our work situations tend to work out better, and our relationships tend to have less drama and more peace. And then the fifth stage is the clear heart, heart-brain harmony. This is feeling oneness and deep connection. This is where there's great synchronicities. And so it's not that, oh, we get one stage and, we never leave. We flow a lot. We tend to be in one stage more. But it's important to understand the stages. So if you find a dark heart moment, you can get out faster and you're not in there as much. And the clear heart, when you're washing the dishes and you sort of go into a space of non-thinking, or you look into your dog's eyes or your child's eyes, we all experience these stages. But what the book is about is training your coherence, doing these tools so that you start to awaken the heart and inhabit the higher stages more.
And I heard you say that when you are awakened and aligned, that's when you can take quantum leaps. And so
quantum leaps, nonlinear.
Well, this is really important because
Yes.
we're using words that maybe sound woo-woo, nonlinear, quantum, right? But it's actually very practical. We all go through life thinking, okay, we have to go to first grade and then second grade. And then when we get out of school, we go to college and then we get this job. And you're saying you can actually move from A to Z very quickly. You don't have to go through D, E, F, and G.
Well, so first of all, when we're talking about the heart, when we're talking about energy, this is the same thing in quantum physics. It's nonlinear, meaning it's not how we perceive Newtonian physics, like A, B, C, like an instruction manual, right? So there may be periods in this heart awakening where like one day you may wake up, you're like, whoa, I see that pattern that I've been like playing out for years. And then there'll be other times, and I've experienced this along the whole journey, where you're like, oh, like I'm feeling that fear again. And it's not that we've regressed, it's just more shedding of who we are not. So this field, Danielle, 45, if you guys can see, this is the Taurus field. So there's nothing non-scientific about what we're talking about. This is measured by really sensitive equipment known as magnetometers. So everything has an energetic frequency. That's how science works. And so the heart field is 100 times stronger than the brain. So right here, you and me sitting here, your heart field, my heart field is extending 8 to 10 feet away from the body. That's how strong it is. So when you start to become more coherent through the inside, through these practices, what happens is your field, this actual field, which is measured, becomes more strong and harmonious. And guess what that means? You become literally more magnetic, right? People are pulled in instead of, oh, this is so hard and I'm going on 50 dating apps and all this stuff. You literally just start to, and I'll give you some examples in a moment what's happened in my life. You start to change your perceptions, but it also changes how people perceive you. And so this isn't, sometimes in the West, I say this in the book, Western movies, the hero wakes up like Die Hard in those kinds of movies and he's like, I have the power. I could save the world, or I could save this building or whatever. It's like the power's in me. I just didn't see it. The heart says there's a power moving through me. So take out the ego, take out, this is my power. I'm special.
Yeah.
Like no one's special and everyone's special. It's more about stepping into these fields of energy, which are non-specific. That's why everyone can access them. So I'll give you an example. I was in focusing on myself. I would say a very steady heart stage, where I'd gone through a breakup and my mom had passed away suddenly. And I was just sort of, doing a lot of meditation and introspection and didn't do a lot of socializing. I was doing my work, but just focusing on this anchoring. And then someone, invited me that I didn't even hardly knew from my own Feel Good podcast, said, oh, do you want to come to this dinner party in Venice? And I was like, okay. Like something said, come to this dinner party. So I go to this dinner party and within the first few minutes, I meet this man who, if I was in my propelled heart, head, judging, very externally focused, I would never have given this guy the time of day, right? I mean, it's not my type. Tattoos from the neck down, gold grill in his teeth, start talking about smoking meat and CrossFit, like things I'm very much not into. But there was such a clarity from an energetic standpoint, this heart resonance, like I could see him. He could see me. So we went on a walk the next day, and then he came to this Levi's speaking event with me. And then by Monday, Danielle, he said he loved me. This is the guy who said he would never get married, went in for a vasectomy, and then we got married, and we have 2 kids together.
And you got married like 4 months later, right?
2.
2.
Nonlinear, right? So the mind says,
Quantum leaps.
yeah, the mind says, oh gosh, that's so fast. But the heart is when it's calm, and I'm not saying this is the right path for everyone, because some people only want to get to know someone for a few years, but it just deepens. And this work has brought so much more connection to our marriage. And I'll tell you another quick story. Mind thinks, oh, I have to do all these steps. My 3rd book was called The Beauty Detox Power. And again, someone bridging science and spiritual teachings is Deepak Chopra. So I sent him the book after somehow I got through the walls, and he reviewed the book. But then I had this feeling, Danielle, we're meant to do more together. So I was in more of the clear heart, just feeling really clear across Union Square to a meeting. And always I would go this way, but something in me said, go this way. So I walked around the outskirts of the park. And who did I run into? True story, on the street, Deepak Chopra. I said, Deepak, it's me, Kimberly, you just reviewed my book. And he was, really receptive and warm. He gave me his cell phone. A few weeks later, we met at a coffee shop, decided to write a book together called Radical Beauty, which went on to become a New York Times bestseller. In 2 hours, we laid out the 6 pillars, right? And I use these examples, again, because this is not something I could have planned from the mind. This is nonlinear, meaning that energy connects, and you don't know how incredible your life can start to unfold in daily ways, just feeling more lightness and peace when you wake up, to certain opportunities and expansion and love coming in and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It all starts from inside of you. And that's what's so empowering about this. It's not about, do I, look good enough, or have I achieved enough, or whatever, like, have I done all these things? This power is something that we can all access. Mm-hmm. It's the hidden power, literally.
How do you get, if you are in your head, how do you get out of your head and into your heart?
Okay, so one of the most profound shifts that we can make. So we hear these things, Danielle, like, just stop thinking, think positively.
Right.
We're meditating now, just stop thinking. But we do it from a mental place, right? So it's like we're going to the same place where the problem is to try to find a solution. So when we do this heart coherence work, the very first thing we do, and it's so simple and yet so profound, is you start to shift your attention to your heart. So let's do it right now. We're talking, but just shift some of it. Part of my attention has been on my heart this whole time. Or just even place your hand on your heart, and anyone watching or listening this can do this. You feel just in little ways, just shift down. Sometimes when you start to connect here, you may feel disconnected. Maybe your heart's been sort of, and you haven't connected with it in a long time. But research, even from the American Journal of Cardiology, that's published in scientific journals, shows that just shifting your awareness, like we are right now, to your heart, starts to rewire your nervous system. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
You're starting to create these incredible shifts.
One of the things that I think is interesting about the book is you talk about these big emotions.
Yeah.
But we hear it with Gen Z all the time, is that they have big emotions that older generations don't quite understand or even want to understand sometimes. How do you tell the difference or decipher between heart direction and emotional impulse?
So one of the things that gets talked about sometimes is this idea of expressing your emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm supposed to express everything I feel. But what the research shows when you take a deep dive, and this is from, there's someone I quote in here, Dr. Aaron Sigmund from the University of Maryland, and some of the researchers at HeartMath, is when you go into the rage and you go into the big emotions, you actually create more incoherence and more inflammation, and you reinforce the neural networks that get stored in your amygdala, meaning something happens and you're going to get reactive again. You're going to get angry over and over again. So it's not that we want to suppress the emotions, but similarly to the brain and our gut, how we can learn to properly digest. What you do with these practices with heart coherence is you shift in, you anchor to yourself, and then you allow yourself to feel those big sensations. There's a practice in here called this Heart Aligned Steady in Life. It's based on all this research, where these big sensations of emotions, which are energy and motion, come and they get really strong, and then you digest them. So you're not suppressing, but you're not projecting. You're not putting it out into the world. You're not putting your body through that incoherence. It's a whole different way, because we all have these big emotions, and then keeping your heart, going to your heart coherence, you can actually digest the emotions, and then they don't stay as, emotional triggers that keep getting reinforced over time. So this term neuroplasticity isn't just in the brain. It's that there's 40,000 neurons in your heart. So the rewiring patterns between your heart and your brain. So back to the quantum leaps. In my life, there were things that, because of my past, if people interrupted me, if I felt like they didn't see me because of, whatever neglect wounds I had in the past, I would get so angry. I'd be like seething on the inside. But now with this heart work, you perceive differently. Oh, that person's just excited.
I think you also see yourself, so you don't start craving other people to see you as much.
But you can also see your limited patterns. Like with my husband, I could say, oh, I could see where, I could come across as, a bit entitled or reactive here, why he would say this.
Yeah.
So you see yourself, like, whoa. So you can blast through. I've had clients blast through anger issues. I've seen some clients blast through food cravings because they're not just going outside of themselves into the food, like incredible change.
I love how you talk about digestion. I'm so moved by that. I had an eating disorder when I was younger too. And I think so many women that grew up in our generation did for a lot of different reasons. But you were saying that you weren't digesting feelings.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then you literally weren't digesting your food.
So in many ways, right? So I was bulimic. So it was like too much, taking it in, not able to digest life, like pulling it out, the bloatedness. And I worked with, I can't tell you, like thousands of people, hundreds of clients personally, but then through my books, thousands of people with bloating issues. Bloating isn't just, hey, I don't digest the gluten or the dairy. There's so much energy, like bloating is it's not passing through, right? So there's many ways in which we're not really digesting that experience where we are in time, in that moment, in that day, those emotions, feeling overwhelmed, feeling fear. So when I started to look at, nutrition and digestion through a much more holistic lens, it was, transformative.
I want to talk more about the electromagnetic field.
Yes.
In layman's terms, we all say, like, I don't know, the vibe was just off.
Totally.
But that's the vibe, right?
Energy doesn't lie. So listen to me. If you say to yourself and you say to your friends, I want to find my partner. I really want healthy love. I don't want there to be a lot of drama. I want this, this, this. You can say that. But your field, what you are putting out, if there's incoherence, number one, you may continue to attract the same pattern because like attracts like. It's the other thing about magnets and magnetic fields. Or number two, what you do want, your energy is registering is not coherent with that, so you can repel. So you can say all the witty things you want on the dating apps and put your best picture, but energy is felt, right? Then you meet that person and, whatever, it doesn't line up, or maybe that person doesn't line up with you, both ways. But all I know from experientially, scientifically, energetically, all of this is that as we work on the inside, attracting, creating, getting along with people, having healthy relationships, becomes so much more easeful. It's just like things work on a practical level. It's just, the stories and the drama and all these thoughts in the head. It's just simple, flowing, moment to moment. And you bring in more things.
The dark heart, stage 1, you say it can be an amazing opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Why is it a teacher?
So when things don't work well, it's contrast, right? So dark, again, not bad, but imagine that we turned off all the lights in this room and closed the blinds.
Yeah.
And I say, Danielle, go from here to the door. You can't see. You bang your head or your knee into that. You knock down some things. Ouch. Really badly cut your elbow open. We hurt ourselves when we don't see. We suffer. We waste energy. We're in that same dead-end relationship.
Yeah.
We get furloughed from the job for the 5th time, or we're told this or that. It doesn't work. So it propels us, it moves us into, this isn't the right way. This isn't working. So if we didn't have that contrast, we may stay in that state for decades, lifetimes, who knows, right? So it's this teacher to move us towards the light, literally, figuratively, energetically, right? The light of heart coherence.
Yeah.
The field getting more coherent and awakening more to who we really are. The thing that I value more than anything now is the moment to moment. The moment to moment living is right here, right now. What I mean by that is sometimes we have these ideas, like I said, the propelled heart wants to make these goals. For me, when I started out, I wanted to be an author. Then I wanted to be a New York Times bestseller. And then when I did that 3 times, it's just like more and more things. But how are we feeling moment to moment? Do we feel peaceful? Do we feel connected? Do we feel loving? Are we kind to ourselves and others? And ultimately, that's what really matters, right? It's like all the stuff we're chasing, if you boil it down to what we're looking for. So we can have all these things and still not have that. So for me, this work has given me so much, moment to moment. It's priceless and it's available to everyone, I believe, just through this unlocking inside of us. And I also, you and I were chatting a little bit before the interview, the Vedic texts also talk about these periods of time as a collective. So the dark ages, which we could argue we are in now, a lot of dark heart energy, separation, war, just lots of things are going on. But what the texts say is that the more of us that awakens into this heart power, each of us contributes to the greater field. So it's like more lights going on. So that's how we're going to change society. It's not going to be from the ego. It's not going to be from the mind. It's not going to be the way we're doing it now. It's going to be more of us waking up into our hearts.
I agree with you.
It's a critical time. It's a powerful time. And it's a time of choice.
You talk about how heart intelligence reveals your true self. This is a loaded question, but how do you define true self?
So when we're really in our hearts, what I call heart-based living means we're speaking, moving, acting from this place, this deeper place of guidance, not thinking how we look, not thinking the gain we might get from something. It's this really pure place of authenticity. I think who we really are. And then we start to, when we drop all the layers and all the stories and all the narratives, we start to be this energy of, first of all, wholeness, where we don't feel lack. We're not comparing ourselves all the time. And then we're naturally these heart-based qualities. The heart and brain are talking. So there's more kindness, more softness, more compassion, a way to find unity, a way to see someone instead of take issue with the many things that we could with pretty much everyone, right? So more of who we are is not living from this ego place, but from this really deep connected place. And again, what it looks like scientifically is that coherent field.
You write, seeking is restless energy, and it's what makes feeling peaceful impossible.
Yes.
I think we live in a society of seeking, so much so. And not so much in the way that I think maybe people will take that, like buy me, bring me, fly me. It's not that seeking. It's more like, what is my purpose?
Yes.
Who am I? And I'm a person who loves questions. So I'm so curious what the balance is between asking ourselves those questions to find answers and not be seeking to a place that we're out of our heart.
Yeah, so the restless energy is a characteristic of the propelled heart. So this is where nothing is ever enough. You could get to this place in your career, but what about this promotion? You could get those 100,000 followers you want. Oh, but maybe I should have 200,000. You could have a really fit body and say, but maybe I should try this other workout that I saw on TikTok, right? It's never enough. So it's up to us to be honest, and this awareness grows through these practices of, am I really, what's the motivation? What's the root of this? And only our hearts can tell us. I naturally feel drawn to pursuing this opportunity. It's called inspired action versus the ego. We're coming from this place. It's like I describe in the book, the wild horse running around in circles.
Yeah.
We wear ourselves out. This is the burnout. This we see across society. This is the massive anxiety, right? This is the never enough. The other side is being content Doesn't mean that we don't want to continue to grow and build our businesses and create those beautiful families and the things that, we may want, but we're doing it from a coherent place, which means calm and not desperate and not needy and this frenetic energy. Mm-hmm. So as we start to create awareness with the clarity of heart coherence, slowing down, going into your heart, journaling, there's different practices in the book. We start to know the difference.
Yeah. I think
and
you
it builds
can feel
over
the
time.
difference.
You can feel when you're, that energy.
I agree. The heart aligned practice is what you emphasize as the how. How is that different from meditation?
Mm-hmm. Meditation is like a very broad term. And a lot of meditations, I'll tell you, and I've been meditating now for over 15 years, are disassociative. What I mean by that, let me imagine I'm at a happy waterfall, not where I am. I'm not saying that can't relax you or make you kind of calm down, but the heart aligned system is different. This is about putting you in your place of power, the hidden power, to awaken into your fullest potential. And your place of power is in the present moment, right here in your body, right here in your heart. So these tools are bringing this physiological, psychological change, changing your perceptions, which then empowers your thoughts,
right?
Balances your emotions, it changes outcomes.
So as you're saying this, I'm thinking about this colloquialism in our culture, which is we tell women, step into your power. But you keep using the word awaken. When did your power awaken personally?
So there's layers and layers and layers of that, right? I would say really dramatically, the last 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, since I've been starting to get, into the writing of this book. I mean, on this level.
That's so interesting to me because you found so much success in years past. And so it's not success-based.
Layers like an onion. Oh, and I'm not discrediting all those books and all those things that I've done, and it's all amazing. But the 5 stages, again, Danielle, these are different realities.
But when did you wake up?
But it's not like, I woke up today. It's like this process of, you get a glimpse, right? I was like, whoa, like I see this clear heart moment.
Okay.
Instead of just random or, I took something, I did a device, or I took plant medicine, or like something you take.
Yeah.
It becomes something, and I'm not discrediting any of those things because people may benefit from them, right? Like no judgment on anything. But you start to, the field becomes non-specific. This is how I'll explain it, right? So instead of like, I love my 4 people in my family so much, or I love this thing so much, or, I feel really happy when I go to this bar or this restaurant or eat my favorite meal. What happens to your energy is it becomes, and this is to me, power is like, it's non-specific. I love my kids so much. I'm not so tied to them like when they were born, because as you become self-reliant, connection grows instead of attachment. So there's less of that neediness. Mm-hmm. We're so closer than ever, so connected to self, so connected to the bliss inside. So it's not specific to being at that concert or doing this one thing. So that's real power to me, is you don't need anything outside. Can I read you a quote, Danielle?
Please.
So this is gonna sum up what you're saying, okay?
Okay.
Or what we're talking about here. This is stage 3. Steady heart. This is where I said we make a big shift here from propelled outward to inward. This is page 95. Sri Yukteswar teaches that the core essentials of life from the Vedas are Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness, and Nanda, bliss. These 3 are the real necessities of the human heart and have nothing to do with anything outside of himself. So take that in for a moment. It's very different than the delusion that we're taught in society, which mirrors the dark and the propelled heart. We need nothing outside of ourselves. So this to me is true power. So along the way, I was expressing power in a different way. I was creating my own business, my own podcast, writing books, and there was amazingness. But there's a different level where, I would define power more as this self-fulfilling. You don't really need anything. You're not giving your power. I need you to like me. I feel love when you love me. Now the power's inside of you.
It's I am love.
I am. And then yes, I am love. I am these things that I'm seeking. And it's experiential. And it's not like, oh gosh, so hard to attain all these things. this is accessible.
Yeah.
I've gone through all the, we talked about the eating disorders, the anxiety, the bloatedness, like insomnia, all these things. And this is why I love to tell the story, because I've experienced all this. But this power in the heart is given to each of us. So even if you feel really confused, or my life isn't working, or you haven't been able to meet someone, I really want to be married, or whatever it is, you go in and you start to build this coherence with these practices, and you still take inspired action. You may feel called to put yourself out on that dating app, or to put your resume here or there, whatever it is, but you're doing it from a different energetic place, so you will get different results.
I like that.
Yeah. This isn't like, oh, let me lock myself up and, things are going to fall out of the sky. We're still in life, but we're in life like that Taurus field, projecting and perceiving in a different energy, different heart stage.
So I want to stay on the idea of power for a second.
Yeah.
Right? Personal power grows when you don't give your power away. How do we give our power away unconsciously?
Okay, so in the steady heart, a big topic is attachment. Attachment is an ancient concept talked about in the yoga and the Bhagavad Gita and these ancient texts. Attachment means just what it sounds like. I need you to like me. I need you to understand me. I need you to like my post. I need you to want to favor me or spend time with me. This needing. And I'm talking about people. I'm talking about, I need this job. I need to be, have bought a house by a certain point to feel successful. I need to be married with 3 kids by the time I'm 35, right? This needing outside. So that means that we're displacing our peace and our love and this self-worth into something, as Swami Sri Yukteswar says, outside of the heart, outside of self. So we start to call it back in.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And you have to excuse me because I think
Please.
I'm a layman. So
No, this is important because this is new. This was new for me. So we want to unpack it.
that.
Yeah.
So I have been in a place in my life where I did feel in need.
Yeah.
And like quite literally, I needed money, right? So I remember interviewing Gabby Bernstein about manifestation. And secretly in my mind, I was like, how do I manifest money? Like, I need money so badly right now to live. And I felt like I was walking in my path, but I clearly wasn't walking in my power. So when and I don't know how I got out of it, to be honest, but things just started happening. So when you're in that place of need, how do you get out of it?
So there's the realities of life, right? We need to pay rent, we need to buy food, we need to take care of ourselves. So when I got back from backpacking, I went traveling for 3 years. I came back and I was broke and hustling. And so what I was doing was taking these little steps. I was going back to nutrition school. I was teaching yoga. I got really good at teaching yoga, so then I could charge more for privates. I was putting my heart into every moment.
Right.
So as I look back, and I didn't have this language, but I was taking that inspired action. So it's not that we don't take action, but it's not from this fear-based place where our thoughts are consumed with lack and fear.
Ooh.
Then we're still doing the same actions. We're still teaching those classes or showing up at our cubicle for work or whatever, but things aren't working out so well. We're repelling. So somehow in the dark, and I talk about this dark heart, let's say you're really struggling right now. When you start to weave this heart coherence in, you still have to take action. You still have to show up, but you start to have different ideas. You start to project a different energy. So what happened for me was I was hustling, walking around the city. I didn't even have the money to buy an unlimited subway ticket. So I remember putting on my boots, walking sometimes in the snow, hustling. But you know what I did? At night, I would figure out how to write a book proposal. I was obsessed with I had this inspiration to write a book.
Yeah.
I started a free blog. No one's paying me. I knew nothing about marketing. But guess what, Danielle? I put my heart into it. These were things that felt really natural, things I wanted to share. My mantra is always what do I share? And that's what I would encourage everyone to do, is feel that energy from inside of you. Where can I serve? Not just me, but where could my energy help support others or uplift? So this free blog, get this, no marketing, no knowledge. All I did was tell my yoga students. And then it started to spread through New York City. And then my first celebrity found me, Uma Thurman. And then I started getting on film sets. And this is the person to this day who doesn't watch movies. I don't have TV. So I started working with all these celebrities somehow, no plans. It was from my heart. And then I moved out here because all my a lot of clients were here. And then the book deals started coming in, and then the national TV shows. This is from deep struggle of not paying my rent. So it's like, you look at what happened. I was working, I was taking the steps, but I was also in this inner world a lot of the time where creativity lives, where we can, again, this coherence will bring you back in. So you're creating with a different vibration. When you interact with someone from a more coherent place, they may want to help you. They're like, hey, what is it that you want to do again? Oh, I know this person. Let me hook you up with this person, right? Instead of this like lack, repellent, incoherent state, wherever you are in your life, you're struggling to pay the rent, you have to move back in with your parents, can't find any work, start to get coherent. And again, keep doing those action steps, but the results do change.
So as long as you feel like you're walking in your soul path. What's your definition of a miracle?
Oh, so miracle is everything.
Yeah.
So it's like we see miracles as kind of everything, right? Just the fact that you and I are here. The fact that the world is held together and things are functioning. It's a miracle. Another way to define it, so that's true, and another way to define it is something, as we're describing, quantum leap, out of the realm of the rational, linear, egoic mind sees like, I can't even imagine this could happen. I can't even imagine that I was a broke backpacker walking around New York City in my flip-flops to kind of a short time later, I'm working with Reese Witherspoon and Channing Tatum and living this altered existence. This is kind of a miracle. It's a miracle when we find the love of our life. And my relationship with my husband is a miracle.
Yeah.
So it's like out of the way in which we get out of this prison, the smallness of the mind, when we harness the heart to the brain. Now this is real power. It's not saying the brain isn't important, but again, perceptions change. So then our thoughts change, our feelings, our energies, what we're emitting, what people come, what we bring in.
How do you keep a warm heart?
So this is where we shift. We continue to shift from our old way of being. Like we were saying, the dark heart didn't work so well. We start to shift from the ego, mind on its own, the overthinking, into what I call heart-based living. And so what this means is that when you keep a warm heart is you keep it activated. So the tools are like 3 seconds, 5 seconds, even just, placing your hand on your heart, like we come back, because this world is always pulling us out. Come back to the heart intelligence. We come back and we can even ask ourselves, what's the most loving, kind thing to say? What's the way to peace in this situation? What's the best way to communicate and create the best outcome in this Zoom or in this work project? So keeping it activated means it's not just, I do my meditation in the morning and I don't touch it, or I love this book, The Hidden Power of the Five Hearts, and now it's stuck on my shelf and I don't use it. This is a way of living, and it's worth every moment. And it's also, like I said, not separate from your life. You start to weave it in moment to moment. And there's another part of the book, Danielle, where I say, never miss an opportunity to serve. And what this means is, like I said, when we're manifesting through the lens of an awakened heart, it's not just, I'm going to create a foundation one day, or I'm going to spend my weekend at the soup kitchen. Those are great things. But again, they're kind of here versus in this moment. How could I be really present with this person? In this moment, how can I be really kind to that person I interact with in line, at the coffee shop? Maybe I see this person's in a rush, let them go, or smile at someone. I'm really nice to the FedEx guy. Never miss an opportunity to serve is moment to moment.
I really serve like that.
From our heart.
I have some rapid fire questions for you. The best compliment you've ever received?
I would say now at this point is that, just you feel really peaceful, and it could tell that you genuinely want to spread peace and help people feel better.
The biggest misconception people have about you?
That I'm perfect. I get that one a lot.
Do you?
Just with like, you eat a perfect diet, you live this perfect lifestyle. I think a lot of people think people are perfect on social media. Yeah. We're all on a journey. We're all very layered.
A lesson you've learned from yoga that you use in life?
It goes layers and layers deep with this heart work. There's so many levels of attachment. The lesson of coming back into self-reliance over and over again is a really big one for me.
A mantra you tell yourself when you need to vibrate higher.
I am the heart.
A book that changed your life, something you think everybody should read.
Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda.
I just bought it. I'm gonna give you these.
Oh,
You can pick a card,
Oh, wow.
whichever one you're called to.
Out of all the extraordinary people you've encountered, who made the largest impact or left a lingering memory? Yogananda.
Yeah.
I stick with that.
My last question, what is the smartest decision you've ever made?
Following the heart. It's a different type of intelligence, not smart in the ego way, but going the way of the heart.
It's also the most courageous thing I've ever done. Following my heart has been the most courageous thing.
And
It was the scariest for me.
And it will just keep unfolding as you progress, as you make life decisions, as you choose your partner. It's going to change everything.
I'm Jewish, and
My husband's Jewish.
Really? I'm curious to see if you experience it with your husband, but in Jewish culture, I find that there's a reliance on the brain. It's very intellectual. We value intellect, and I had to do a lot of unlearning almost.
It was cultural, right? There's a lot of emphasis on education. But again, when you look back at how much that word lev is mentioned in the Torah and the handling of the Torah in the tabernacle,
Yeah.
there's a lot around the heart.
Cool.